Hello, everyone, as you start to join and get settled in. Great to see you all here. We're going to give it just a few minutes for folks to join, and then we'll get started. Thank you to all of our prompt arrivers. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes for folks to join. Thanks for being here. All right, thanks for joining. Really appreciate all of you being here. Let's give it just one more minute, and then we will get going. All right, we're going to go ahead and get it kicked off. Thank you all so much for coming today to our Lunch and Learn about PWAs, or Progressive Web Apps and Marketplaces, Tips and Tricks. I'm Tori Brunker, Director of Product Marketing for Commerce at Adobe. Most of you know Adobe for our digital experiences and creativity reimagined. Our commerce product, Adobe Commerce, powered by Magento, is a leading digital commerce platform for B2B and B2C companies. And ITG is sponsored this along with us, and they are a long-term Adobe Solutions partner specializing in progressive web apps and marketplaces. We're joined by their client, Good360, to detail their work with ITG Commerce in building a B2B marketplace on top of Adobe Commerce and PWA Studio. I'm joined by two experts in e-commerce technology, Stefan Mulik, CTO of Good360, and Ferenc Varga, CTO of ITG Commerce. And we have a terrific agenda for you today. I'm not going to read the agenda to you, but I do want to just point out a couple of key highlights. We are going to discuss how to use Marketplace working for a nonprofit like Good360. The reason Good360 chose Adobe Commerce and progressive web apps. And then finally, we will have real-world examples of how to put these concepts in actions. By now, if you don't know Amazon, you must have been off the grid for the last 20 years. Shopping on marketplaces has grown in popularity, and according to Commerce 360, marketplaces outside of Amazon, Walmart, and eBay were actually 43% of all marketplace sales in 2020. And of course, we all know the mobile explosion continues to drive shopping to smaller and smaller devices. Ferenc, can you help our audience get their bearings on progressive web apps and marketplaces?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Tori. So I'm Ferenc Varga, the CTO of ITG Commerce, and I'm really excited to be here with you and Stefan to talk about marketplaces and PWAs and how to build them on top of Adobe Commerce. So let's get started with PWAs. I think it doesn't hurt to have a short introduction. So what are PWAs? So it's PWAs are progressive. What progressive means? It works that they work seamlessly on older hardware, but at the same time, they progressively utilize the latest hardware features and browser technologies. Why they are web applications? PWAs are web applications because we use the well-known web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And progressive web applications are essentially web pages. And why they are applications? So progressive web apps are applications because on a mobile, the same PWA has the feel and functionality of an actual native app. They can be installed. They have their icons on the homepage. So in every sense, they can act as a real native apps. So that's where progressive web applications come from. And who uses them? So it's a relatively new technology, but some big names use use it, such as Starbucks, Pinterest, Uber, Spotify. And if you want to mention some marketplaces, Alibaba and AliExpress are marketplaces built on top of PWAs. And let's talk a little bit about online marketplaces as well. So let's see what different types of marketplaces exist, how we can classify them. So one of the easiest way to classify them is by seller type and target audience. So from this perspective, marketplaces can be B2C, connecting businesses with customers, can be B2B, connecting businesses with businesses. And the third type of marketplaces are peer-to-peer or customer-to-customer marketplaces. In this case, marketplaces connect individual seller or service providers with individual users, individual buyers. Another way to group marketplaces are by products and services. So marketplaces can sell virtual products such as music or anything as that is virtual, videos, images, can sell physical goods. Of course, this is quite straightforward, and there exists more and more marketplaces that provide services. For example, connecting teachers with students. A very important way to group marketplaces are by monetizing strategy. That's one of the most important things from the business perspective. Marketplaces can be commission-based, subscription-based, advertisement-based, and listing fee-based. These are the main ways to monetize a marketplace. Another important point is vendor engagement and branding. So a usual marketplace is a multi-vendor marketplace, I would say, is a marketplace to to promote the branding of the vendors, but it's a possibility to have a dropshipping or hybrid model when the branding of the marketplace operator comes forward. A fifth way of making a difference between marketplaces are by focus. So there are some marketplaces that are vertical. They focus on a particular niche, such as Airbnb, and they can be horizontal, one-way shop to sell virtually anything. Of course, there are other ways to analyze marketplaces. Because we are talking about online marketplaces, we can make a difference by the way users interact with it. So vendors typically interact with marketplaces through vendor portal, and end users, customers by a regular marketplace frontend, and normally there is an interface for the administrators as well, the marketplace operators. So marketplaces are virtually everywhere, and one good example is the marketplace of G360. So Stefan, can you tell us where do you put yourself in this landscape?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Faraz. Good afternoon to our audience. Thanks for spending your lunch with us. I'm Stefan Murek. I'm the CTO of Good360. And to tell you a little bit where we fit in this model and those different ways you can apply a marketplace to solve your business problems. Good360 is a B2B company. We deal with physical goods and subscriptions. We charge an admin fee, which for simplify that for our audience is a purchase price, and we'll go through the demo. I can explain a little bit the difference between admin fee and price. We're a multi-vendor or multi-donor, should I say. We deal with a lot of companies. We are a mixed model of doing our own shipping and dropship, so we leverage both of that in the marketplace in general, in Magento and specifically. Where things kind of get a little different is our focus is helping people in need. And I think I should probably start by telling you a little more about Good360, who we are and how we operate, and that'll help you, I think, understand our demo. If you can move us to the next slide, please. Yes, so what's Good360, why do we exist? Our quest is to close the need gap and open opportunity to people in need. And you see that probably in the news all the time. You get those articles telling you on one side of our society, there's plenty of goods. There's even an excess of goods. The retailers deal with return products, unsold inventory. COVID kind of increased that by a significant magnitude. And then on the other side, we have millions of people who are lacking those needs all the way to basic goods and everyday goods. And Good360 want to be that connector that's one, provide a solution to our donor corporations and be their point of contact and help them along the way of creating a donation program. On the other side, we have about 100,000 nonprofit in our network. And our specialty is really to understand where the goods will have the most impact. And that's the added knowledge that we bring to a donor versus the donor going into that journey by themselves. We know where the product will be best used, and we have different ways of bringing that product to the nonprofit of all sizes. So we help those donors having a sustainable solution for their excess inventory. For a lot of companies are really becoming sensitive to social impact. We help them along that journey too, of having the right social impact and giving them the feedback that they actually do have an impact, not just they donate goods and we're done. Is we can really show them that those goods went to the right place, help the right people, and in a meaningful way. The other thing is all the nonprofits in our network are vetted, so we reduce their impact, we reduce their risk of the product being donated and being misused, or even worse, never being used. We know that everything that goes through Good360 will end up helping someone in need. So that's kind of what Good360 is. We've grown very significantly in the last couple of years. We've donated over $870 million worth of product expressed at sticker price. Throughout 2020, we've helped 7.5 million people who got products that they wouldn't have access to without us. COVID, we've been very active, $250 million worth of product, especially very needed product. I mean, we had access to PPE product during the intake of the crisis that we made available to awesome nonprofits who delivered them to hospitals in their communities, to people who really need them. So it's been a great year to be around despite tough circumstances. It was very motivating. So maybe now I should tell you a little bit more about how we operate Good360, and the idea of a marketplace will make a lot more sense, I think. First part, if we start from the left of that slide, we get the product from corporate partners. We deal with a lot of big brands. I think even though they're small, you recognize those logos: Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, Nike, and I'm standing in front of our wall of logos, which is in our meeting room at the corporate office. So we always kind of keep in mind that our donors are important, as important as our nonprofits and the people they help. And when a donation comes in, the first thing we do is we go through an analysis of where it fits in 4 primary channels of distribution, which is 1, warehouse products, where we ship boxes of product. So we're targeting smaller organizations. We're targeting maybe somebody who needs a specific item, but not in a large quantity, so they can order a few boxes of product. Another option for larger quantities, we can go all the way to a truckload, and we can handle the logistics of it, of getting it at the donor's dock and bringing it to the nonprofit, bringing it to our warehouse, process the goods further, and sort them in categories to make them more impactful. Another way, so those are involve shipping. In terms of sustainability, that comes with, it's becoming a bigger thing that's being talked about, is the carbon footprint. A lot of product that's being returned to stores end up being shipped back to a return center, maybe discarded, maybe reshipped somewhere else. One of our very successful program namely with Walmart, is the Retail Match program, where we have access through the donor to a list of locations, of actual physical store locations, and we find a nonprofit nearby who can go on a periodic basis to pick up product at that location and deal then that way, in a responsible manner and with a limited carbon footprint with the return product that would otherwise be discarded or unused. Once the product once we decide what we're going to do with the product, that's where Magento comes in. We advertise it on our marketplace, which we're going to see a little later. Our nonprofit connect to marketplace through the PWA, so desktop, mobile application. Source the product, we ship it to them, and once they have it, they distribute it to their community. One interesting fact on why marketplace and why PWA is that the PWA gave us access to kind of an easy mix of desktop, more traditional website, and mobile application. I mean, we've noticed a growth in the number of, we're still mostly a desktop user type of marketplace. We're seeing a significant growth in the mobile usage, and that's where PWA became relevant.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Stefan. Forrester shows that about 31% of buying is happening on mobile devices. and 47% of digital purchases are happening on marketplace platforms, and that number is only rising. Did you find any surprising benefits of moving to PWA for the Good360 marketplace implementation?
Sure. No, we definitely did. I mean, there was one, we're like I said, we're a nonprofit, so that I don't have the resources that maybe a large corporation would have to set up a platform. I have to focus my effort on keeping it tight and compact and as easy to manage as possible. PWA kind of accomplishes that because when you start, you have to kind of pick your side. Is am I mobile first or am I a desktop first? But you get both. By the nature of running a PWA, even if you don't do anything else, you have a desktop version of your application and you have a mobile version of your application. So that removes from us the complexity of having to post an application in the marketplace, in the app stores, the Google Play or Apple Store. And side benefit, it also helped with the security, which is always a bigger and bigger concern in the IT community, in the public in general. I don't have to monitor the source code of Magento on one side with vulnerability on my app store, vulnerability on the specific Android version. PWA kind of abstracts all that, and it lets us focus on the business rather than how we run the business. And then there's a side benefit that really may not apply to everyone, and it's not obvious, but it was one of our decision factors. A lot of the nonprofit that we run they have a much smaller budget than we even have. They run, with a lot of heart and a little bit of cash. They don't have the latest computer. They don't have the highest bandwidth. I mean, if anybody in the audience knows anything about the state of rural bandwidth, it's not great. They don't have the latest Android or the latest iPhone. And PWA runs very well on a slow connection or even a spotty connection by the nature of being an offline, online type application. And that's something that, when we approach the project, is how do we serve our members first and apply the right technology. So that's how Magento kind of came to mind. And PWA.
Yes, thanks, Stefan. So maybe in addition to the things you have mentioned, there are some other obvious benefits of PWAs as well. So seamless mobile experience is one of these things. So PWAs in many ways are behaving in the same way as regular mobile applications. So you can have access to the geolocation features of mobiles, real-time camera, data storage, payments, and all the other things that you have on a mobile phone, or you don't have and you will have in the future, such as artificial intelligence, for example. And it can be installed as an app in a smooth way. So it's a web application, and when you visit the web page, you get a notification asking you whether you want to install the web application as an app, and you can do it. And if you have done it, you will have an icon on your mobile phone, and you can go back to the application whenever you want to. And also some other native features are push notifications and offline mode. These can be very useful as well. Offline mode is good to provide some kind of user experience even if a network is not available. And of course, the push notifications can be used to communicate with the end users in a standard and easy way. So all these things ended up result in improved business bottom line. So you can have increase of traffic, better conversion rates, more sessions, better user engagement. And since we are talking about the connection between marketplaces and PWAs, I think the greatest benefit for marketplaces is that you can have a single solution. You don't have to build a separate mobile app and the web page. Marketplaces generally do that, so you have a separate web page and mobile application for Amazon or eBay, because they want to engage the users as much as possible on all platforms, so you don't have to do it if you are using a PWA. And yes, in this way, PWAs provide a better user experience on all platforms.
Fantastic. I know I can't be the only one that wants to see this in action. Perhaps we could move to the video demo now, or the live demo rather, sorry. I can't wait to see the marketplace in action. And Stefan, I just want to thank you for all the great work that you and Good360 are doing for the world. The numbers you shared earlier are amazing.
Oh, thanks, Dora. That's, yeah, we're in a way, we feel fortunate that we can help in that magnitude. It's been very gratifying to be at Good360 and help a wide population. So hopefully everybody can see my screen now and our marketplace. So the site here is the desktop version of our PWA app. And you find, like, if you remember those different channels that I mentioned, the warehouse, the truckloads, the larger quantity, and the local donations, the retail match, we reflect that in our menu system here. That's kind of what guided that layout there. Everything here has been created using the Magento page builder. So we featured all our new products, typically a lot of first necessity. I mean, people would be surprised by the basic needs that people have. I mean, it's hygiene products, obviously right now school supplies, not complicated items, basic things, clothes. So we take those major categories, we give people a way to access them here rapidly. And I got some product that I did go through. We have a full search on our website. Got a new donation from Amway, beauty product. And one thing you notice that's kind of, yeah, it's a B2B. Well, I see that as a B2B feature, that if you're not logged in, you're not going to see, if you don't have an account on the marketplace, you're not going to be able to see the price or the admin fee. So if I log in, you'll see the change there. That takes me to my page. I get my account page. Another B2B feature is as an admin of the company, I can create my own users. We don't implement that, but there are options to implement things such as like approval workflows, different rights, purchase approval. Something we don't leverage, but it's out there as a B2B capability. So now if we go back to my Amway product, you see that the admin fee and the compare ad, all that populates. So a little bit going back to our model, if somebody was to buy that at retail price, they would pay around $1,000. We can get it delivered to that organization for a much more affordable price. Very standard, almost like a B2C experience here. Same thing with our truckload products. Those require a lot more vetting. We don't really open that access to our truckloads to everyone, but it's definitely an option. It's by far the most compelling programs we have. I mean, if you look at the difference in how much you have to pay for what you get. And I think we had a question on how we address the different demand of our nonprofits through different options. That's basically how we have a marketplace that some of the product is dropship, some of the product we fulfill ourselves, but it's really different sizes, different packaging, different ways to get it to a nonprofit. Bulk donation is also something that's becoming very popular. It's kind of sitting in between the full truck and the boxes of product. It's pallets of product. And there's a whole variety. Again, if I go back to my Amway, we had an example here of pallet product, same experience, put it in my cart. It shows up here. The reason we kind of wanted, we operate as a B2B. I always say we operate as a B2B, but we really deal with people who are used to B2C website. Again, a lot of people in nonprofit, it's not their main job to be a logistics specialist or a buyer, or they're used to shop on Amazon. They're used to shop on Walmart.com. So we want to provide a similar experience that's easy to digest for everyone, and remove the complexity of some B2C product. That's also kind of where the choice for Magento came from, because we've looked at different products, and either the vendor has a specific product for B2B, one for B2C, or their B2C and B2B is kind of an afterthought. Magento was really the only one that had kind of that breadth of, no matter what your model is, we have a way to address it. So that's very similar to a B2C experience, but where PWA is so far, I think no big difference between this and a regular website. But when it comes to a local donation, I can make more sense of it. The local donation is really finding what's around you and source it. And one way to do it would be to go to the website. Another way to do it would be to see what's near you on your mobile. And I'm gonna do a live demo on my phone, which can always get interesting. So how does a PWA works? Is we're on the same website on Firefox here. The big difference here is now even in Firefox on Android, I have that install button. So if I install this, I can add it to my home screen. Very native experience so far. So if I reopen that from the app, so the navigation, the Firefox interface is kind of gone, and now I'm more in a native Android app experience, and I can see all my product. The website changed format, and that doesn't happen by itself. There's definitely a minimum amount of coding required, but a lot of it comes with the fact that you're using a PWA. I'm just going to briefly get out. Give me a bit of a moment to.
Stefan, I'm noticing how fast it is as you're moving from screen to screen. I love the speed.
Yeah, and some of that comes from the fact that part of the site is cached. That's another benefit of whether you're online or offline. The sites get cached on your phone, so I would say that the more you use it, the better it's going to get in a way, because the PWA will remember like this entire section on top, the logo, the navigation bar, that menu here, all that is cached on my phone. So I'm not hitting the server whenever I'm navigating through the application. And let me now take you to that example of looking at our local donation. Where did they go?
While you're doing that, Stefan, so I have to add that, of course, PWAs can be optimized as well. So we try to add as much optimization as possible to this site as well. So we are using some advanced technologies such as Elasticsearch for caching on the server side as well.
Yep.
And of course, we optimize the front end too. Yep. So there are endless possibilities for optimization, and we are always happy to provide the best experience for our clients.
And so here, hopefully, if everything goes well, we're going to see a little bit of the benefit of PWA versus a website. If I go to my local donation page, one, I think by the built-in nature, I think of Wi-Fi, the application kind of knows where I am. So I'm landing on that page. It already knows that I'm in Alexandria, and it sets the map up for me to already see what's around. I have the option here to give it access to my location, and well, I guess what I did the test, it already kind of I approved it, but you get that you don't lose control as a user. You still get that pop-up that asks you, you allow the application to access your location. If you say yes, it remembers where you are, and you see what stores are around. I could also enter my zip code here, and expand the, oops, bit of fumbling here. I can expand the search to bigger region. So that maps tell me what's available in my region, the green dots, and what could become available in my region. So that those stores already have a partnership, but they're up for renewal. The idea here is for people to come often and see if one of them would become available. But if I pick one that's of interest, so there's one that's close by here. It's a Bye Bye Baby in Springfield, Virginia. If I'm interested in that, I could go there. Takes me to the mobile version of the page. So I still have my product description. I still have potentially my restrictions, and I can add to my cart. Interesting thing here is that the session goes across your devices as long as you remain logged on. So everything I added to my cart, it's still there. Those isPWA product that I added, the Bye Bye Baby is here now. And if I go back to the main website and refresh my page, my cart now shows those 3 items. And then I could go through my regular checkout, and it's very B2C experience, nothing really unusual. A little bit of our lingo where we specify, like we have more questions than most websites would, because we don't want somebody to give us their home address and we ship a 50-foot trailer, and that causes issue. You'd be actually surprised that it did happen. It's one of those things, every time you see a sign that looks silly, you think that somebody was silly enough to actually do the wrong thing. So that's kind of what happened here. And I would continue to payment. I'm not gonna go all the way through, but essentially I would put my credit card, process my payment, and we're back to our business model. We take it from there, depending on what you put on your card. So that beauty mix from isPWA would ship from our warehouse in Omaha. That pallet most likely will also ship from Omaha, and we'll establish a partnership between you and the Bye Bye Baby store. We'll put you in touch with them to start your partnership. So that's pretty much, unless there's specific questions in the audience regarding the demo, that's pretty much what I wanted to show everyone.
Terrific. I know I have a question. What's the process to build something like this with all the features and the complexities? And Ferenc, maybe that's a question for you. What would it take to actually get this going?
Yes, let me reshare my screen. So we have I've collected some tips and tricks on how to build an online marketplace. So it's definitely a long journey, and it has to be started properly. So the first step for anyone who wants to build a marketplace is for sure research and analysis. So it means that one has to understand the trends and figure out the right niche for the marketplace. There are hundreds and hundreds of marketplaces in the world, and yes, one has to find the market gap for that. So for that, there are some obvious things that are recommended. Competitive analysis, seller and buyer persona development, which is related to what we have discussed earlier, the B2B or B2C model, and how to engage users, and one has to think about the revenue model for the business. So that's the real first step to start to understand what marketplace should do.
And if I can jump on that on the research and analysis, Ferenc, I think for a customer standpoint, from my standpoint, was really like understand who your audience is. I think that would be my first recommendation is who's your audience and what do you try to accomplish with them. Don't build a site for yourself. Don't look from the outside in. Don't look inside out. You're not pleasing the crowd. You have to address their needs. And I think that was the first part of my analysis was really there, and that's how we ended up with Magento and PWA when we went through. Well, we have a B2B model with people with B2C experience, people with not the latest hardware, and we need to address a variety of needs, variety of shipping method and product. That was kind of the how we got into the project.
That's a good point. So one has to try to provide some value, and especially for the end users, and of course for the vendors as well. That's a good point. And probably the most important, or the second most important thing on the road, is to have a good specification. So once we have the idea, we have to have a solid version of it, and see how it can be translated to actual features, actual user flows, UX and UI, and connected systems and automated flows has to be considered as well. So by this point, marketplace owners should have enough information to do proper platform discovery, because platforms are it's a marriage between an idea and an implementation. So it's right choice of platform is extremely important and has to be considered properly. So for that, of course, it's also part of the discovery. So it's a good idea to check a couple of platforms and see what they can provide, how flexible they are, how they work, and how they fit to the actual project specification. And at this point, I think we have to mention that Magento Commerce is one of the most flexible platforms out there if you are talking about e-commerce. So we have done a couple of implementations, marketplace implementations, very different ones. Good example is Good360, but we have some more traditional multi-vendor marketplaces as well. And if you are planning to build a marketplace, you should definitely consider Adobe Commerce as one of the best options.
And if I can jump in on the platform a little with how we approach that, is it's one thing to keep in mind if you go the Magento route is you have to, well, Magento has a cloud offering, so I'm lying a little, but you're owning the infrastructure. So you have to make sure you have the right partners in place to help you run it. It's not like a competitive product where it's like a shared tenant, multi-tenant platform where you get the package solution. You really get access to the source code of Magento. No matter what model of hosting you choose, you're going to end up having to work with the source code and almost like the bare metal. But one thing that was interesting for us, and again, the importance of a good partner, and I know it's not the point of the call, but ITG has been a great partner. And I'm not going to emphasize enough that if you go in the PWA, if you go through your research and analytics, your specification, and the conclusion is I need a PWA product, make sure you have a partner who understands what the PWA platform in Magento is or in other product, but make sure they understand what a PWA means. It's a very different animal, but it's not so hard we find it not so hard to host between the modern tools of containerization, between the Docker, Kubernetes of the worlds, and the fact that one benefit for us too is that we have a hard time gauging the traffic on our website at any given point of time. PWA kind of it kind of cuts the edge off of that because of the caching nature of the product. You kind of absorb some of the peak and valleys of your traffic. So you can sort of get away with a smaller platform, and that was definitely important to us. Like we couldn't afford a platform that where the cost goes up as you're growing. We have to have something that can really handle peaks of traffic and then deal with our activity. And that was one of also the decision factor in the choice of the platform.
Yes, and actually it leads us to our next point. So it's building an MVP is our next hint, and then why PWAs can be a good choice here, because it's a relatively cheap way to serve both the mobile users and the desktop users, and it can scale up. And it's a good start for a business as a whole. Of course, some other benefits for building an MVP is that it's very difficult to even going through all these research and analysis to get the real demands of the vendors and the customers. So it's good to start with something simple. The minimum viable product can be scaled up, can be adjusted, can be modified. So that's a great idea for anyone who wants to build an e-commerce solution, especially a marketplace, to start with an MVP. So by this, we can focus on the main flows and yes, pay attention to mobile users. It's extremely important. And you already mentioned that PWAs are important, and ease of usage. So intuitive navigation, as you showed, Stefan. So anything that is well known and understood in the web world is increases conversion rates. So it's focusing on checkout and intuitive navigation and ease of use is a great idea. So as soon as you have an MVP, then
if I can touch on our MVP, Ferenc, because I think there's some good example there in our experience or our journey with you guys last year, and the MVP is one. Yes, I'm a big fan of an MVP because you can research and analyze forever what you think your audience is going to need. It's hard to say what people are going to really want or not want. So by starting with something maybe smaller than your entire goal, one, you're going to tend to stick to your deadlines a lot better because you're more focused on on what you need to go live, not what you want to go live. And I'm also a big fan of MVP because I would say once you set a launch date, I mean, I don't know what the experience is of the people in the audience, but if you're getting on your first e-commerce project, you're going to see through the development cycle that you'll never feel like you're ready. There's always a reason to push the go live. We could do this better. That might break. It will anyway. It's going to break. Something's not going to go right. So when you're ready to launch. I mean, do it. Stick to your deadline. An example for us was last year. We were still on the Magento 1 platform until way past when we should have been on it. And we got in a situation where it was really do or die. We had to get out of Magento 1, get on Magento 2. We went from 0 to launch in about 5 months, I think, Ferenc, is that right? Just about. It was basically a race, and it was a race throughout COVID. It was a race throughout the biggest activity Good360's ever had. The launch actually went very well, but the point is yeah, do an MVP, and when you set your launch date, stick to it and jump. That would be my big tip of the day.
Thank you for that. Yeah. That definitely it helps a lot, because then you can move on to the next step. And once you have an MVP, you have a working site, and then you can think about the next things. So it's how to take care of your business, not about the website. So that's and here are some points we encourage you to do is to engage sellers and buyers to understand them and support and provide solutions. Of course, for ratings is one way. Ratings and reviews are good and very practical way to engage users. In some cases, it's of course it's not relevant. Like in your case, Stefan, it's probably most relevant, but in general cases, it's good to engage users, establishing trust. I think it's important for you as well. It's important for anyone. And testing and coming up with new ideas and see whether they work or not.
Yeah. And one thing that we found after the launch, after the MVP, I think that was kind of important, is that we don't run Magento just by itself. We run Magento with a Salesforce Service Cloud for member support, customer service in the private world, and we use NetSuite as our ERP to process orders and then manage inventory, accounting, and all that stuff. I would assume a large majority of people who run Magento, their e-commerce platform, do integrate with something else. It's not a self-contained one-stop platform, doesn't pretend to be one. So that's just the nature of the product. And we found that you're going to build your integrations, you're going to test them in your MVP build-up. I would still be ready to adjust that post-go launch. It's really something I would be ready for, and we were ready to address that. We're still addressing some of that to a certain degree, but integration is really key. You're never going to test them well enough, but it's a really important part of the plan, and it's really between your build MVP and your post go live. I think that's where you really need to plan some time and effort in your integrations.
And I would say integrations and automations.
Yes.
So the both together, because the more automations you have, the less manual work you have to do, and the more the business runs on its own. So yes, the next step is to adjust, improve, automate, and scale up the business based on the feedbacks and the experiences. So our probably last advice is to build automations and integrations to eliminate manual flows and improve vendor and customer self-service. So that's very important. It's a prerequisite of scaling up easily. And of course, there is always room for improvement and room for applying new trends and features to satisfy user trends.
And if I can interject on that, when you say scale up and improve and automate, to give you an idea of the size, I guess, of the improvement we're looking at, and the choices, which were, some of them are tough. I mean, some of the MVP choices are going to be tough. You're going to have to let go of maybe a whole segment of your organization is not going to be part of the MVP. So there's, outside of the IT scope, there's some internal communication within your organization. You're going to have to be clear with your users of what is part of the MVP, and make sure they understand that they're not being left out. They're coming soon. And there's in our case, there's a whole segment of Good360 that I haven't touched yet. Is our disaster recovery activity. When Tori said, if you haven't heard of Amazon, you haven't turned on your computer in the last 20 years. And unfortunately, if you haven't heard of earthquake, forest fire, and flood, you haven't turned on your computer in the last 3 days. And we're very active in the disaster area and what we call the long tail of the recovery. We're not a next day type company, but we help with the recovery of affected region, the rebuilding of the region, the refurnishing of the homes, the supporting the people, and with first necessity goods, with toys for kids. We have a program with Mattel to that effect, with construction material, Home Depot. That whole segment of Good360 is very critical to what we do. It's a very different activity from the rest of our e-commerce or marketplace platform. It's a very dynamic, I would say, sort of a messy process by nature, because you never know what you're going to need during a disaster recovery. It's a very iterative process, and we haven't really figured out just how we want to do it, but it's definitely something we want to integrate in our marketplace. So it's kind of an example of a choice of, it's a huge part of our activity. We made the choice during the MVP to postpone that, and we're starting to look into it. Other things we do is we've been running our existing processes on the marketplace for a few months. We identified some places where we can improve in our truckload area, namely. We're starting initiatives to kind of iteratively improve that area. So it's kind of a grow what you have and add what you didn't put up front was kind of our approach.
And we are working together on some new features.
Oh yeah.
Which involves quotations, which is a
Yes.
Magento B2B
Yep.
feature. Can you share a few details about this?
Yeah, sure. No, that's exactly what I was talking about when I said we found a process that is not that could be improved. Is the very quickly how people source a truckload with Good360 is you look at through our website, the PWA we looked at, you find an admin fee that makes sense to you. You can say I can afford $1,500 or $2,000 to get a truck. It's so far the only product on our website where shipping is not included. And shipping is for anybody who's dealing, if you have retailers in the audience, you know that shipping is a huge concern post-COVID. The cost is going through the roof. The availability is not always there. So our process is basically two-step. Is you go through our website, you find the admin fee that makes sense, and you inquire on the cost of shipping. We figure out the base rate we can obtain. We have mechanisms which are currently less than perfect to expose that back to you. And if everything looks good, you complete your transaction by placing an order. The desired process now is to leverage quotes in Magento, and that also touches to the DR application, the disaster recovery application I was mentioning, where you can iterate on a document in a collaborative fashion. There's no orders, there's no payment involved. You iterate quickly over the quote, whether you agree on the shipping rate of a truck or whether you agree on the list of products you need for your disaster. It's very manageable because it's self-contained within Magento. It doesn't involve any integration with other systems, which complicates every process. And so we're starting, like Ferenc said, a project with integration of one, let people request a quote when they want a truck instead of placing an order. And we're working with one of our key partners in the shipping area to dynamically get the quotes from them through API calls, external API calls, get that quote back and expose it to our members almost in real time. And I would say we're a small nonprofit, not that small. We do a lot, but only 70 people strong and not a ton of budget. But I think it's a pretty cutting edge feature. I haven't seen too many website or marketplace where you can quote shipping for full trucks in quasi real time. So we're really excited we can do that with ITG.
Yes, and actually, it can lead to our next step, next advice. So it's our final advice is to do this process, and Magento and Adobe Commerce is a surprisingly good platform for that, because it has so many hidden features and ways to extend it, that there are hardly any areas that it doesn't have some kind of support or at least some basic features that can be extended to do that. So as that's our final advice, I think, together with Stefan, to continue yes, continue this.
When you're done, we're just getting started.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That is terrific walkthrough and advice on a process. Thank you, Stefan, for taking us through the Good360 mission. and how your team is using Adobe Commerce and PWA technology to accomplish this. And Ferenc, thank you so much for going deep on marketplaces, as well as some of the concepts behind PWA. We really appreciate it. We don't have a ton of time left. There was one question in the Q&A pod that I wanted to go ahead and ask. How did you choose between Vue/React while designing a PWA application in terms of performance and development effort needed?
So it's maybe a more technological question. It was ITG Commerce, it was us that proposed PWA Studio to Stefan for some obvious reasons. So it has some features that doesn't exist for other PWA solutions. So it has a fully integrated page builder support, for example, and the new B2B features are coming as well. So it's a PWA Studio, which is built on top of React, is probably the best way to build a B2B marketplace on top of Magento 2 with all the advanced features of Adobe Commerce.
Terrific. Thank you everyone for attending. We greatly appreciate it. The recording will be available, and we will make sure that gets out to all of our registrants and attendees. Thanks so much, and hope you all have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.